Oh, good morning, everybody. I would like to call this meeting to order. And to get started, may we request our executive officer to call the roll?
All right, members, before we get started, as a reminder, we have one board member who's participating virtually, Dr. Bradbury. And Dr. Bradbury, can you confirm if you have anyone over the age of 18 with you in the room?
I do not.
All right. Dr. Bradbury, I just ask that you keep your camera on throughout the whole meeting. And if for any reason that you have to, you are unable to use your camera, if you could just state on the record the reason for not having the camera. All right, so with that, I'll take roll. Ms. Pulowski,
Here.
Dr. Bradbury,
Here.
Mr. Espinoza,
Here.
Dr. Grant,
Here.
Dr. Maniak,
Here.
Dr. Solocito.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right, thank you. So now we proceed to agenda item 10. And I would like to turn it over to Judge Huber because I will be recusing from this hearing. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Salacito. All right. My name is Patrice Huber. I'll be I'll be the judge for today. And I just would like to ask your pardon in advance. My allergies are acting up today, so I may have to periodically blow my nose or cough to the side. So please excuse me. All right. We are on the record before the Veterinary Medical Board and Department of Consumer Affairs in the matter of the petition for reinstatement of Balpal S. Sandhu. The agency case number is 460-2025000-207, and the OAH case number is 2025-030-752. Today is April 17th, 2025. The time is 9:02 a.m. This is the date and time set for the hearing in this matter, and we are appearing in person. As I said, my name is Patrice de Guzman Huber. I'm an administrative law judge for the Office of Administrative Hearings. I'm sitting with a quorum of the board. And at this time, I'll take the appearances of the parties, starting with Deputy Attorney General.
Stephanie Alamo Latif, appearing on behalf of the Attorney General pursuant to Business and Professions Code Section 4887 and Government Code Section 11522, representing the people of the state of California. I'm here to assist the ALJ and the board in fact-finding. My role is not adversarial, but intended to protect the public interest. Thank you.
Thank you. And for Dr. Sandhu?
Yes, Bonnie Lutz appearing for Dr. Sandhu, and Dr. Sandhu is present as well.
Thank you. Good morning, and good morning to you, Dr. Sandhu.
Good morning.
Right. So just a reminder, we are recording electronically, as I understand. So let's just try our best to make sure that we're speaking clearly, loudly, and slowly so that the recording can follow along. And if ever a transcript is ordered, the words we're saying is clear and that the record is clear of what happens here today. So just a reminder to everyone, including myself and the board members as well. All right, so with that, let's go ahead and move on to opening statements. I'll start with you, Ms. Alamo Latif. Would you like to give one?
I waive opening statement.
Ms. Lutz, would you like to give an opening statement?
I'll waive as well, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Alamo Latif, would you like to begin?
Yes, I'd like to start by introducing the exhibits that have been uploaded to Case Center. What's been pre-marked as Exhibit 1 are jurisdictional documents, the notices of hearing and proofs of service. I move to admit Exhibit 1 into evidence for jurisdictional purposes.
Any objection, Ms. Lutz?
No objection, Your Honor, sorry.
Exhibit 1 is so admitted.
What's been pre-marked as Exhibit 2 is the certification of license history for petitioner. I move to admit Exhibit 2 into evidence for all purposes.
No objection.
Thank you. Exhibit 2 is admitted.
What's been pre-marked as Exhibit 3 is petitioner's prior discipline. Included in that prior discipline is the decision and revocation order, effective April 27, 2021. The accusation and petition to revoke probation, filed November 4th, 2019. The decision and order, effective April 29, 2016, adopting the stipulated settlement and placing petitioner's licenses on probation for 3 years. And the initial accusation that was filed on May 4th, 2015. I move to admit Exhibit 3 into evidence for all purposes.
No objection, Your Honor. And for the record, I've reviewed all these documents. I have no objection to any of the
Okay,
documents.
thank you so much. Exhibit 3 is admitted.
What's been pre-marked as Exhibit 4 is the cost certification information showing that petitioner owes $47,512.11 in cost recovery and a $5,000 fine for a total of $52,512.11 in costs if his license is reinstated. I move to admit Exhibit 4 into evidence.
Without objection, Exhibit 4 is admitted.
What's been pre-marked as Exhibit 5 is the petition for reinstatement. I move to admit Exhibit 5 into evidence.
Without objection, it's admitted.
What's been pre-marked as Exhibit 6 is petitioner's written statement. I move to admit Exhibit 6 into evidence.
Without objection, Exhibit 6 is admitted.
What's been pre-marked as Exhibit 7 are 3 letters of recommendation. I move to admit Exhibit 7 into evidence.
Exhibit 7 is admitted.
What's been pre-marked as Exhibit 8 are 7 continuing education certificates. I move to admit Exhibit 8 into evidence.
Exhibit 8 is admitted.
And what's been pre-marked as Exhibit 9 is a request for a live scan. I move to admit Exhibit 9 into evidence.
Exhibit 9 is admitted.
And that concludes my exhibits at this time, and I'd like to give a brief summary background.
Go ahead.
Petitioner was issued veterinarian license number VET 13678 on June 14th, 1999. On November 6, 2009, petitioner became associated as the managing licensee of AV Veterinary Center, premises license number HSP 6663. On April 15, 2012, petitioner became associated as the managing licensee of Canyon Country Vet Hospital, which had a premises license number HSP 5668. On May 14, 2012, petitioner became associated as the managing licensee of All Creatures Vet Center, premises license HSP 6152. On May 4, 2015, complainant filed accusation number AV 2015-22 against petitioner. The accusation was based on violations of multiple acts of negligence, anesthesia violations, and record-keeping violations related to surgery performed in August 2013 on a patient who had sustained multiple fractures and dislocation. Effective May 29, 2016, the board adopted a stipulated settlement and disciplinary order revoking petitioner's vet license and the 3 premises registrations he was managing licensee of. The revocations were stayed and petitioner was placed on probation for 3 years with terms and conditions, including but not limited to supervised practice of orthopedic surgeries, completing 5 hours of continuing education on orthopedic surgery and record keeping for each year of probation, completion of a 10-hour orthopedic surgery intensive clinical training program, community service, a $1,000 fine, and cost recovery. Prior to termination of his probation, the request for accusation petition for probation was sent to the Attorney General's office, and on November 4th, 2019, the accusation petition to revoke probation was filed against petitioner and the 3 associated premises registrations based on 41 causes for discipline, 39 causes related to 15 patients, and 2 causes related to premises violations found after inspections. And the petition to revoke probation was based on various probation violations. A 15-day hearing was held in September and October 2020. At the hearing, complainant amended the accusation and petition to revoke probation, and the 14th and 15th causes for discipline and the 3rd cause for revocation of probation were stricken. A final decision and order was issued effective May 27, 2021, revoking petitioner's veterinary license and the 3 premises registrations. The final decision found that complainant established a vast majority of the causes for discipline and the causes to revoke probation. The decision found that the record established that in petitioner's treatment of his animal patients, he committed numerous acts of negligence, incompetence, unprofessional conduct, and inadequate record keeping. The decision also found that in his capacity as the managing licensee of the 3 premises licenses, he failed to comply with regulations concerning radiation safety, sterility of surgery rooms, and accountability and controlled substance dispensing laws. The decision also found that petitioner violated the terms of his probation by failing to obey all laws, submit quarterly reports, proof of community service, and proof of completion of continuing education courses. And lastly, the decision also ordered petitioner to pay the cost recovery in the amount of $47,512.11 and the fine of $5,000 as a condition of reinstatement. Petitioner signed the petition for reinstatement in this case on June 12, 2024. His petition is based upon the supporting documents identified in Exhibits 5 through 9. Because the burden is on petitioner in this case, I have no further statements, but reserve the right to question petitioner. Thank you.
Thank you, counsel. Ms. Lutz?
Okay, yes. At this time, I'd like to introduce Dr. Valpal Sandhu. And would you please state and spell your full name for the record?
Balpal Sandhu, Balpal Sandhu.
And Ms. Lutz, just to confirm, you're calling Dr. Sandhu as a witness?
Yes.
Okay, so Dr. Sandhu, let me swear you in before you testify. Please raise your right hand. Thank you. Do you swear or affirm under a penalty of perjury that the testimony you will give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
You may put your hand down, and thank you for stating and spelling your name. Ms. Lutz, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Sandhu, can I have you please look at, which is Exhibit 5, but it's pages A222 through A224. Did you prepare this document?
Yes,
Is that your signature on page A224?
yes,
Is all the information on this 3-page document true and correct?
yes.
So please look at page A223 and specifically to the section called Continuing Education. Did you attend all of these courses that are listed here?
Yes,
Okay, please look at what is Exhibit 8. It's under tab 8. And the first page is A232. Did you attend this course in abdominal ultrasound training?
yes,
And did you attend it in May of 2023?
that's right.
How did this course help you with your rehabilitation?
Ultrasound is, these days, is the tool that most of the veterinary hospitals are using, not especially with the patients when they need a prompt diagnosis or they need more accurate real-time visualization in the abdominal cavity than doing surgeries. So this tool helps us to understand what's going on the pet and with a better diagnosis and prognosis. So it helped me to improve my knowledge for diagnostic purposes and for the surgical approach.
Thank you. Please look at page A233. 233, correct.
Yes,
Did you attend this course on developing your emotional intelligence?
yes,
Did you attend it in June of 2023?
right.
How did this course help you with your rehabilitation?
Especially working in a practice which is very busy. So it helped me to understand how to handle stress, better communication, and better working environment in the hospital, and especially emotional stress.
Okay, and how did that relate to your rehabilitation specifically regarding the allegations against you in the underlying case?
It helped me to mostly understand how to have a calm and compose um, in a stressful situations, especially working in 24-hour emergency hospitals, working long shifts. It does make difference and does make difference to understand how to handle those situations under stress.
Okay, thank you. Please look at page A234. Did you attend a course on veterinary medicine multimodal pain management for companion animals in September of 2023.
Yes.
How did this course help you with your rehabilitation?
So this course really helped me to understand the importance of pain management, analyzing pain management in pets, um, proper documentation, which I one of my reason for the board to give me issue that warning about was the pain management. So I did a lot of in-depth study on pain management, understanding how the patients with different trauma situations, surgical patients, even chronic pain with old pets, how important it is to have a proper pain management uh, implementation in my work situation and in my medical records.
Thank you. Please look at page A235. Did you attend a course on veterinary general soft tissue surgery in October of 2023?
Yes,
And was that an online course?
yes.
How did this course help with your rehabilitation?
So this course was very interactive course, and they talked about new protocols. During my revocation of the license, I just wanted to keep on stay in touch with the new techniques, new protocols, new approaches. So this course was part of it to continue improve my knowledge and practice for future.
Okay, please look at page A236. Did you attend a course on veterinary pain management in October and November of 2023?
Yes,
Additional course.
yes.
And were these live sessions or online?
Yes.
Which? Were they live sessions or were they online?
So the live session was interactive with the course instructor and also all the participants. And after giving a lecture, he would involve us about our experience in the pain management, discuss with the new protocols, and also emphasize how important it is. So hearing from each other, discussing with each other, we help each participant help each other to understand this pain management about pre and post surgical care. Especially, we discussed a lot about senior pets and rehab situations where pain management has been overlooked and it should be addressed on those patients. So, with the interactive participants, we were able to discuss even after the course was finished.
And did this course help you with your rehabilitation?
Yes, it made me understand importance of pain management, making protocols for pain management, and also understand about my previous issue with the pain management. Help me to improve.
Okay, can I have you look at page A238, please? Did you attend the 95th Annual Conference of Western Veterinary Conference in 2023?
Yes,
Is this the certificate that you received?
yes,
Did you attend the entire conference?
yes.
Do you recall how many hours of continuing education you earned at that conference?
It was more than 20 hours.
How did the attendance at this meeting assist with your rehabilitation?
Um, this one helped me to see the new techniques coming, listening to the professionals from different perspective, um, all cutting edge technology that helps with the to know what's going on with veterinary medicine. So this one, I attended every conference, this 23, 24, 25 too, to stay in touch and not to lack even during the period I'm not practicing veterinary medicine. So I was able to interact a lot of mentors, colleagues in this conference and discussed their approach of handling stressful situation, busy practices, and learn from them.
Thank you. Your Honor, I assume that these CE certificates were admitted under administrative hearsay, is that correct? Or were they admitted for all purposes?
For all purposes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Dr. Sandhu, could you please look at section 5 in your notebook, back to the petition, which is pages A 222, 223, and 224?
Yes,
And specifically look at page A 223 again.
yes.
So what is your current occupation? How would you describe your current occupation?
At present, I'm president, owner of the 2 hospitals. So at, at- I just work with finance in the hospital or marketing part and somewhat little bit administrative working under the guidance of Dr. Frank Marco.
Okay, since May of 2021, have you performed any duties of a veterinarian?
No,
Have you performed any duties of an RVT?
no,
Have you performed any duties at all of even a veterinary assistant?
no.
Please look at page A224, which is the 3rd page of your petition. Under the section called current compliance, is everything there correct?
Yes,
And I notice here under cost recovery, you checked no. Was it your understanding that cost recovery was not ordered in the underlying case?
yes,
But now you understand that it was ordered, correct?
yes,
And again, I'm just going to confirm that that's your signature at the bottom of A224, correct?
yes.
Okay, please look at section 6 in your notebook. And specifically, I'm looking at pages A225, 226, and 227.
Okay,
Look at page A227, please.
yes,
Did you prepare this document?
yes,
Is that your signature on A227?
yes,
Is everything in this narrative statement true and correct?
yes.
Okay, let me call your attention to A225. In the second paragraph, you admit that you failed to comply with the provisions of probation. Why didn't you comply with the provisions of probation?
I was, all my reports, it was not done on timely basis. So as for the reports are concerned, I gave that task to my hospital manager, but again, I take responsibility of it. It was my responsibility to make sure everything was done on right.
And you're talking
Yeah.
specifically about the quarterly reports?
Quarterly reports, yes.
What about the community service requirement that you didn't comply with?
The community, I thought I was helping the local rescue groups, and I did a lot of procedures, medical treatment as free of cost, and I thought that could be the part of community service, but my understanding was not considered.
Okay, so what, are you saying that your understanding is that what you believed was community service that would satisfy the requirement, did not satisfy the requirement. Is that
Yes.
what you're saying? If this petition is successful and your license is reinstated with probation, do you intend to comply with all of the terms of probation?
Yes, absolutely.
Do you understand as you sit here today, what's required as far as compliance with those terms?
That's right.
In your narrative statement, you address the fact that your medical records were deficient. Um,
Yes.
Okay?
Okay.
Okay. Previously, did you fail to document pain management in your records?
Yes.
Okay. Why did you fail to document that information?
I was doing on other part of the medical record, which was whiteboard. So I assumed that could be the part of documentation, but it is not considered as my document. That was considered as under my direction. Technician listed it. So that was my misunderstanding as my document, which was not. So that's why.
Okay, I'd like to have you explain what you meant by whiteboard so that we can all understand. You okay?
Yeah, the whiteboard is a flow chart when we admit patients. Any treatment plans, any temperature assessment of the pet is recorded on a timely basis, the way we want to do it. Either it's 3 times a day, 4 times a day, twice a day, or once a day. Because of the busy schedule, busy practice, I was documenting on the whiteboard, but then when I had my hearing, I found out that is not considered as part of my medical record because I did not write on the main treatment sheet.
So as you sit here today, do you understand that you have to document pain medication?
Yes.
Let me finish, please. In the medical record?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. You also refer to your failure to document post-operative monitoring. What is your understanding regarding what you're supposed to be documenting regarding post-operative monitoring?
On the post-operative monitoring, now my understanding is more in depth, watching pets' behavior, how it's resting in the cage, the treatment it's getting, especially monitoring their pain assessment and adjusting the doses of pain medication on basis of their responses after the surgery, not just do once you start with the pain medication and not to change afterwards, but it should be changed on basis of pet's evaluation while in hospitalization.
And if you are allowed to practice vet medicine after this petition is heard, do you intend to ensure that this documentation is included on your medical record?
Absolutely.
Okay, you generally also refer to improper medical record keeping. Do you believe you know today what is required for proper medical record keeping?
Yes, I do. And I admit that my medical records were not done properly, even though I did proper protocols and everything, but my shortage was typing, and our whole hospital has been on like paperless hospital. So during these 4 years, I improved my skill to type my notes and get speed. And also, there are a lot of new softwares where you can also do voice over text that would help me to improve my medical records to the par.
And you also refer to the duties of a managing licensee. Do you understand what those duties are as you sit here today?
Yes. To set up protocols, operations, standard of operation as per board regulation. And since my license, we have been implementing those protocols and checking those on monthly basis, so there is no more deficiencies.
Who is the current managing licensee of your facility?
Dr. Frank Marco.
And is he going to be a witness here today?
Yes.
Okay, look at page A226, please. Can you describe for us what you mean by mentorship from respected veterinarians?
After my license was revoked, I was very interactive with discussing with other veterinarians um, about my situation. I wanted to have their opinion and learn from them the deficiencies I have so that I can improve those, I can learn from those. And was another reason I did a lot of pain management, continue education. I even went through Dr. Harris, actually guided me to a couple of books on emergency critical care and pain management, which I went through the complete books. And I discussed a lot of those protocols about, with her during her off hours and learning from her with her experience. She worked in emergency critical care over 30 years. And another was Dr. Manohar Singh. From him, I learned more of leadership. I learned more of community service from him because he's actively involved in those um, operations.
Okay, you also refer in your narrative statement to rigorous internal controls. Can you tell us a little bit about what you mean by that?
Um, During board inspection and also reading more about board regulations in person, we learned that how important is to have internal standards, how important is it to follow the guideline and not just do it once, but on regular basis, making sure that everything is done by the rules and regulations and by the law. And
Okay.
if I add, I had both my managers and supervisors have been guided and they have been working on a regular basis to follow regulations and internal controls.
Okay, and you also refer to standard operating procedures. Would that be more or less the same thing that you just discussed?
That's right.
Okay, can you tell us a little more about what you mean by development of a software system?
So after I lost my license, it was a big blow to my profession, to my ethics, to my contribution. So instead of giving up, I wanted to do more and I wanted to learn more and do something which it can help another veterinarians where I had a problem, especially with the medical records. So I developed, it took, spent 2.5 years to building a software where it can help veterinarians and veterinary staff, RVTs, to properly follow rules and regulation, do proper medical record. And also, I did add a lot of literature from reputed books like Plum and help them to understand the importance of standard dosing, um, frequency, writing medical record on time. That's another big thing. When sometimes when we get busy, we don't get a time to record on the timely basis. But with the new software and with the new AI invention, that is going to help us. And that's where I have been developing the software to help.
Okay, and still on page A226, will you describe your work at Kennedy Meadows Wild Canine?
It's a wild canine rescue group. They rescue wolves from different continents, different kind of genetics and tried to secure endangered wolf species. So I got in touch with them about 3 years ago. Um, so I go there, help them to. They're still in the process of building. So they're building like strong cages to protect them, and they are in mountains, putting shelters with them. I do supply them a lot of farm tools because I have a farm, and it helps them to. And it's a nonprofit organization. I go there, I groom wolves, the one they're friendly, I bathe them and help them on those situations.
And have you provided any services of a veterinarian to these wolves?
No, I don't, because those wolves, they bring it to the hospital if they need any treatment, and my doctors on premises does it.
But you personally?
No.
Okay, let me finish the question. Do you personally perform any veterinary services on the wolves?
No.
Okay, also on page A226, going over to A227, can you describe additional efforts at introspection and self-improvement that you referred to here?
Again, as I said, these 4 years have been a time for me to revisit veterinary medicine, work on my deficiencies, work on where I feel like I was not improved, especially documentation of medical records. That was my biggest issue, and that's during this phase I learned how to type fast, how to be on timely basis. I attended multiple discussion groups with veterinarians. I keep on going to the local veterinary conferences, even with the new medications coming for their meetings, understanding new protocols, learning what is new coming into standard of care protocol, especially with the plum. And I have done in-depth study on Trump's protocol, on the medications, and also personally working on my own personality, how to understand and work on stressful situations in the hospital so that it does not affect the standard of care.
Okay, can I have you look at, in section 9 in your notebook, page A239?
Yes.
Did you submit fingerprints to LiveScan?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and if I can have you look at section 7, page A228 and 229. Who is Jane Harris?
Dr. Harris has been working for us for almost 2 years prior to my revocation, and so she was working on emergency critical care. She had a lot of experience, um, emergency internal medicine. She's very strong in internal medicine, and after I lost my license, she took the premise permits, and she managed hospital before she got into that critical sick.
Did she write this letter for you?
Yes.
And do you believe that that's her signature on page A229?
Yes.
Did you tell her what to say in this letter?
No.
You believe everything she said is true and correct?
Yes.
Okay, can I have you look at page A230?
Yes.
Who is Dr. Singh?
Dr. Singh owns a hospital in San Dimas. We have been friends, colleagues over 15 years. He's also a president of Indian Indus Vet Association for Southern California. So we get to meet each other frequently on the meetings.
And did he write this letter for you?
Yes.
Did you tell him what to say in the letter?
No.
Okay, please look at page A231. Who is Dr. Frank Marco?
Dr. Frank Marco at present is a license holder for both my hospitals, premise license holder, plus he's practicing at one of the hospitals,
Which hospital does he practice at?
All Creature Veterinary Center.
And you said, is he the managing licensee at that facility?
Yes, and he's medical director too for
Okay.
both hospitals.
And it's my understanding he's here today to testify in person as a witness, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Have you read any textbooks during the time your license has been revoked to increase your knowledge of veterinary medicine?
I have been gone through multiple books on veterinary surgery, soft tissue surgery, orthopedics, especially pain management, um, medical record keeping, internal medicine, and I have been spending at least 6 hours on average all these years to study, learn, and come back with a strong knowledge foundation, uh, take care of all my deficiencies from the past.
And when you refer to 6 hours, what is that? 6 hours?
A day study, doing research, learning, um, watching videos, a lot of videos regarding discussions.
Okay, do you believe that if your license is reinstated, that you're able to practice veterinary medicine in compliance with the California Veterinary Medicine Practice Act?
Yes.
Do you plan on using an anesthetic checklist if you return to practice?
Actually, we do have that. We implemented um, with Dr. Harris Port, and we formulated a very comprehensive pre, during, and post checklist, which we do with every patient under anesthetic or even sedation.
And do you understand that you must establish VCPR with your clients?
Yes.
Do you understand that you have to evaluate an animal's condition before you release them?
Yes.
Why is that?
Um, because when the pets are in hospital for surgical procedures or under emergency critical care, um, not just giving them a treatment and their overall they look better. I don't think it's sufficient any. Under my new knowledge, I should do a proper thorough exam just the way when they're admitted in the hospital before they leave. So everything is checked, documented, and explained to the pet owners.
Okay, one of the allegations in the underlying case had to do with your calculation of the dose of HLK. Can you tell us what HLK is for the record, please?
It's a combination of pain medication and sedation, which hydromorphone, lidocaine, and ketamine. We use this for as a continued rate of infusion for pets who are and went under like major surgeries or they have trauma, which they need continue pain management. Um, So that's what we use during hospitalization.
How do you plan on calculating the dose of that in the future?
The Plum, which is a best reference book for medications and drugs, came up with their own calculator where you put some pet's body weight and species, and it calculates on basis of their conditions. So they have a standard of operation protocols on basis of different uh, medical situations. So that helps to calculate standard of care and standard of pain medication. The other one is a vet calculator that I have also that system, and it helps with calculating the drugs, their strength, um, also on basis of species and body weight.
Could you clarify what kind of calculator for the record? You referred to it as some kind of a calculator.
It called vet calculator, VET.
Oh, okay. Okay, do you understand that the dose of HLK that you were using previously was too low?
Yes.
And why were you using that dose that was too low?
As my understanding, when I was observing those pets during the treatment, they were not showing the pain symptoms, or they were not showing that they're in distress. So I try to keep it low so that they are not sedated all the time. They can start eating and drinking before they go home. And all those cases, I started my pain medication, especially on surgery patient, 12 to 24 hours prior to surgery. So I had felt like if they have pain medication before procedure, that's enough. During the surgery and post-surgery, and which I think I was wrong.
So if you are allowed to practice as a veterinarian in the future, will you calculate the dose of HLK differently?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, is there anything else that you'd like to say?
I just want to say during these 4 years, I felt, I don't know how to express, is that all the deficiencies I have done, I did not do intentionally, but I did it. I admit it. And I have no excuse for it. But I did not sit down. I did not give up. I did not made myself victim of this. Instead, it gave me strength to learn more, to explore more, to talk to the people and openly express my deficiencies with the specialists in my life, the friends that I have dealt in the past, that this is what happened. How can I improve? How can I better? I even talked to some doctors, those who were in my situation in different states, and expressed them importance that I learned my lesson and I don't want anybody to go through this one. And I was open about it. I was not hiding what happened to me. And I just shared with other veterinarians the new protocols, sharing what's happening in medicine, because sometimes we get so busy working in a hospital, we don't keep up with the new innovations. And I had a time to do that, and I wanted to give it back to my community and also to my pet parents for the betterment of pets. I just want to add on, it may not be relevant, that I created a YouTube channel personally to help educate pet parents, veterinary technicians to learn more and how we can do a better care as a professionals.
Okay, thank you. I think that's all I have with this witness.
Cross-examination?
Yes. Dr. Sandhu, on the continuing education certificates contained in Exhibit 8, I see for most of them, that you put your veterinary license number on there, but at the time of taking most of these certificates, you did not have a valid license. Why did you put your license number on there when it was not valid?
Those courses you cannot attend if you don't put as a veterinarian, so that's why I address, but I never addressed as an active license holder, just so I can participate in these discussions. They were only limited to veterinarians.
So these courses were limited to veterinarians. You were not a veterinarian, and you represented that you were to take them?
No, I did not represent. I posted it there. It's a revoked. License is not, it's not active license.
Can you point us to where on these certificates that you indicate that it's revoked?
When we filled up the forms on those ones, I can go back and look into that. And it was not done with any intention. It was, I just wanted to do continuing education and learn.
Okay. For the live CE course, the conference in Mandalay Bay in 2023, I believe your testimony was that you cooperated with other practitioners to see how they did things. Did you inform those other practitioners that you did not hold a valid license?
Yes.
And did you explain the nature of the revocation decision?
Everybody knew about it. So those were just my colleagues from the past. And after meetings, we would get together and share our experiences. And we did talk about that with my license. And I talked about medical records importance, writing documentations. We did discuss about protocols, anything that can help each other to learn.
And you said they knew about it. How'd they know about it?
Because of board put it online, and a lot of doctors during my when I was having this issue, I did discuss with them. I asked them about their experience and to learn from them.
Okay. There is a CE for medical records, the roadmap for quality care. That's Exhibit 8. On the bottom, it's marked page 006. That was taken prior to the revocation of your license.
Yes.
Correct? Yeah. When you were on probation, who was your supervising veterinarian who was supposed to supervise your orthopedic surgery?
Dr. Chris Biggerstaff.
Can you spell that, please?
CHRIS, Chris, BIGGRSTAF, Chris Biggerstaff.
Thank you.
Now, managing pain, you briefly touched upon it, the HLK and the administration, and you mentioned some calculations that you and some calculators that you plan to use. And what is your plan if you do get your license back? What is your plan? What is your plan when determining the level of the infusion rate? Do you plan to use one of those two? You said two calculators, was it?
There are two calculators, but they have a multi-modal pain management protocols in there, not just one.
Okay. And were you not using these calculators when you were practicing?
No.
What were you basing your infusion rates on at that time?
There were some papers published, though since I lost my license and as of today, there's a significant improvement in resources online. There's significant improvements by different EMR companies who give us electronic medical record systems. They integrated a lot of different models for the pain management or any medication, and they have their standard of care calculator system. So it's not at the time when I was doing it, it's day and night difference now.
Okay.
We have a multiple resources to find it out.
Okay. During your testimony today, you mentioned that you were using low doses because pets were not showing pain symptoms or in distress. And the final decision finds numerous instances where there were in fact notes showing that animals did have pain, but the infusion rate did not change.
Yes, I understand there are two patients that it says that it was having, but again, I thought, they had a major surgeries, they had a multiple injuries, and whenever we tried to move them, they did show the pain, but again, I was wrong, and I don't have excuse.
You had numerous record-keeping violations regarding failure to document required information. Do you agree that complete and accurate documentation of patients' medical records is critically important to practice?
Yes,
Do you agree that if the medical record fails to contain documentation of certain alleged procedures, then the procedure did not occur?
yes,
One thing that you mentioned at the hearing, the first hearing on the ended in revocation, was that your evaluation of test results and diagnosis and prognosis could be inferred from the actual test result itself. Do you agree that
Yes.
just a copy of the test results are insufficient and more is needed of documentation of evaluation of the test results, assessment, and prognosis?
absolutely.
Do you agree that whiteboard notes to vet assistants are not sufficient for daily progress notes completed by a veterinarian about a patient's vital signs and clinical status?
Yes, I learned it hard way, but that's true. It's not my record. I should be writing on my record, not assuming the whiteboard is part of my record.
One thing that you stated at the hearing was that you do not have to document any explanation for changing or maintaining a medication's dosage. Do you still believe that?
No.
What do you believe now?
Can you repeat the question? Because documenting or explaining?
You stated in the hearing that you did not have to document any explanations for changing or maintaining a medication's dosage.
No, I have to explain if I'm changing any doses in there and why I'm doing it. And it should be based on my physical examination and any further diagnostics I will be doing.
And in your written statement, that's contained in the exhibits, you mentioned something about a medical record program that you helped to create.
Yes.
Is that something new that you were not using while you were licensed?
No, this is I developed during the phase I lost my license.
And can you explain to us how it works? What does it track?
So this is electron medical record system that when I found out the veterinary hospitals like mine, they were very busy, and some people have deficiencies like me who cannot type with the speed and pass and keep on pacing, checking patients, doing as a doctor duty, but not able to write those. So I try to work with the software companies. I talked to some of the software who are working, like Cornerstone as a reference, EasyVet as a reference. So try to develop something to speed up the process. It was almost finished about 6-7 months ago, but then AI came in and it changed the whole system. So that system was based on old API system. So now we are adding AI-based system to make it to the par with the new AI.
And what, for example, is this new AI going to be able to do and in order to help you and other vets at your practice correctly document?
Absolutely, especially the new thing is voice over text, where you can actually do your medical record while you're speaking and it will type it. It also, AI is helping these days, especially if you look at standard of care protocols or standard of treatment developed by Plum. If you can easily have AI evaluate those records and help you to speed up your differential diagnosis, doing standard of care protocols, dosing, calculations. So that integration is in the process right now with most of the softwares, and that would help a lot to us as a professionals.
Does it have anything in your system to prompt you, say you're working on a patient and you go to enter a note saying that you provided a medication to a patient? Does it have anything saying, hey, you didn't do a soap note, or kind of like a fail safe to make sure that you're documenting everything correctly?
That's a very interesting question, actually. And in this software, the way we implement it is if you do not follow the protocol, if you skip any part, it will remind you, prompt you. It's not going to let you open the next page until you finish that, especially in physical exams when doctors are busy. Sometimes if it comes for a certain problem, we focus on, if it's abdominal pain, we thinking about some abdominal issues, but forget to look at their eyes, their teeth, their ears, general health condition, body score, pain. If you don't finish any of those boxes, it won't let you go to next. So it gives you a very in-depth, thorough, um, even if when you admit hospital, and if you're not doing a pain medication checkups, or also evaluating your pets every 6 to 8 hours in 24-hour hospitals, you won't be able to go to next step. It will prompt you to finish before whatever you need to write, you write for the next page.
And when do you anticipate that this software will be completed and ready for use?
I would say next 4 to 6 months.
If you do get your license back prior to then how are you going to ensure that you're doing all of that required information?
I already have subscribed Plum, their standard protocol, which we are using in the software too. We already implemented, there is a couple of softwares already available that you can use those voice over text to your medical record. One is Takatu, the one is a pet scribe vet, and those we will be using in the meantime, and which we are already using it. Dr. Marco is here, so he can tell you. He's the medical director who does implement protocols.
Okay, thank you. Now, you mentioned in your testimony that a majority of your violations were record-keeping violations, but there were also numerous instances of negligence, incompetence, unprofessional conduct, and pretty serious violations. Quite a few of these patients ended up passing away. What have you done in regards to ensuring that you're doing all the steps of the correct practice, such as making sure that you are evaluating every patient before doing ordering any tests, or that you are continuing to monitor and follow up on each and every patient?
So now in our system, if the pet need every 4 or 6 hour evaluation, as we talked about, it won't let you, it will prompt you and make you finish that step before you go to the next step. And we have a color coding now with those, like you have a green color, then you have an orange color, means it's you need to do it right way. And if you don't finish right way, it turns into red, and you cannot go to next step until you finish that. And also we have TV screens in the hospital where doctors can see while they're working what is coming next. And when they go to their medical record, it has pop-up prompt for them to address this issue right as soon possible. And again, these days, there's so many books already attached to the systems that anything you need a reference, it's not like old ways where you need to flip through the pages, but now you just say it or type it and you get multiple reference to your deficiencies or where you feel like you need a second opinion.
Thank you. There was one animal named Rosie who there was a whole blood transfusion given without medical indication. You admitted at the hearing that a transfusion was not medically necessary, but you performed it because the owner had called you 4 to 5 times insisting on it, and you gave in to her demand. Is it appropriate practice to perform an unnecessary procedure just because the owner wants it?
No,
And why did you do so that time?
I think that's where I would say that I learned a lot under emotional education, that don't just follow under emotional stress, rather go with logical and standard of care.
Okay. There was another patient named Pooh the Beagle, and during the hearing testimony, the judge noted in the decision that you blamed these violations on a different vet, and you testified under oath that you had taken the day off and you were not involved in the treatment, and that the other treating vet had entered your initials on records that date. However, on cross-examination, you admitted that you had examined the animal on that date and entered a SOAP note, and you had prepared and administered a PRP to the animal. Why were you initially dishonest to the ALJ and ultimately the board when you were testifying?
The poo was in a hospital for 5 to 7 days. During the treatment, it stayed over there because it had a bilateral surgery procedure done by another doctor. I was in and out because it being a 24-hour hospitals. Certain time we do have other doctors working, and I've been in and out. And sometime I have done treatment even though I was not a working doctor on the premises, but I did do it, and I admit it was me. But as for working the whole shift, yes, but that doesn't mean I can say that, oh, I did not work the shift, but I did the treatment, so I take responsibility for that.
Okay.
And this would not happen again when, even though it's other doctor case, we shouldn't be stepping on each other and discuss and implement proper protocols.
One issue when the premises were inspected is controlled substance logs, and they were lacking many required information. How have you rectified that in the current practice that you own, and do you plan to rectify that in the future?
We implemented Quebec's more than 3 years ago. This is a controlled substance safe where you can only open with the people who have a DEA license. For example, doctor or RVT who's passed the board test for or guideline for use the controlled substance, and it's a biometrics, so you cannot, nobody else can open it. So it has a logs, it has a computer logs in there. When you try to take drug for any patient, you have to put the pet owner's parent's name, species, which pet, serial number, pet number, who's taking the drug out, and that their biometrics are there. So now we had a couple of inspections afterwards, and there was no deficiencies found.
How do you rectify any potential discrepancies? For example, if there's 30 pills and a veterinarian goes in and takes out 3 pills and there's supposed to be 20 something remaining pills, who goes, or how do you know that those numbers are matching up? Is there a check on that?
We have 2 people check it, especially when someone is dispensing, and there's a second person as a RVT who counts it, check it, and initial it before it's been dispensed. And that's more for like general medicine, which is not controlled. But for controlled, the veterinary assistant, nobody's allowed. The only 2 people who are allowed is doctor and RVT. So when RVT dispense the medication, doctor initials it or signs it that they checked it.
Okay. You mentioned implementing controls and standard operating procedures. If you get your license back, Can you explain a little bit more about what your intentions are in regards to SOP, standard operating procedures? What are those going to look like? Or do they currently look like in the practice that you own?
Currently, during this phase with Dr. Harris, Dr. Marco, we did a lot of changes to the practice standard of operations we did before, and with the board guideline, with the board inspections, the things we learned that they were deficient, so those are not there anymore. We do a monthly in-house checkup protocol where we assign any random RVT to go through and find out if there's any deficiencies. As for the medical records is concerned, so we do random medical checks on our own, on our doctors. And Dr. Marco is really strong believer in that. So we report to him, my managers. And we do have, as I said, the new SOAP formats now with using some AI, which is available right now before we implement. Oh, I see. So this one is okay. That's better. How about this? Hello? Okay. Is it good? Okay. No, no problem. I'm just addressing on that way, so I was just bending more.
Okay, thank you. You said that you have monthly checks to catch any discrepancies. Has these monthly checks helped you to catch discrepancies and fix those?
Yes.
And what kind of discrepancies are you guys catching and able to catch and fix right away?
Most of the time, we have been pointed out using some non-surgical equipment in the surgery room, like ultrasound was found once in our surgery room, which was used during the procedure because it was not invasive surgery. So we just wanted to, but people were not able to put it back where it's supposed to go. It's proper operations. If we see refills are not done on time, we do that. A lot of time these days we use online refills, so we have a proper check that every refill that need to be done on proper time. So we are on top of those things were sometime delayed in the past, which is not happening anymore. If there is anything, especially with the medical record, with the doctors being busy, we have our hospital manager who goes through and check it and remind doctors to double check your medical record before it get closed, especially because it's a EMR electronic system. It has time period that where you cannot do changes. So those are very properly checked by, and also anesthesia logs, which is really important. And we make sure that they are filled up right, body weights are right. That's important on those things. And doctors are using these wet calculator, plums calculators to do right dosing, because I'm not ashamed to tell them, look at me, what happened to me, and I was not paying attention. And I don't want you to go through the same pain and stress in life, which I've been through.
Thank you. In regards to the probation violations, you mentioned about the quarterly reports and that it was your office manager's duty to do this, but you agree that it was your responsibility to ensure that compliance. Is that correct?
Absolutely correct.
In regards to the proof of community service, I believe your testimony was that you thought that the program that, or whatever you were doing would comply, but then found out it wouldn't.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
The term and condition of your probation that included the community service stated that it had to be pre-approved by the board. So did you get that pre-approved?
No. That's why I said I assumed that what I'm doing is right, and I did not get approval. So because I was doing my off-time services, researches to save those pets and help rescue groups because of the funding issues and things. But it was my fault, and it was not, I don't know how it happened, but I did not get pre-approved. Yes.
Okay. And then also there was a failure to complete continuing education, and you were required to complete medical record training. every year of your probation. There was at least 3 years, 2016 to 17, 17 to 18, and 19 to 20, that you did not complete or submit those CE courses. Why didn't you do that?
I have no excuse. It was my fault, and I admit it. And I think I did not read through that thoroughly, that it's that important. And I learned my lesson from it.
You stipulated and voluntarily agreed to the terms and conditions of probations. Why didn't you take it seriously and ensure that you were complying with all those terms and conditions?
It's my fault. And I don't want to make any excuse for that. And I promise it won't happen again, because I learned my lesson from it. It is important. Maybe I did not think that doing those hours are as important, because I was working a lot, and I would never let it happen again. And again, I learned from it.
If your license were to be reinstated, it would likely be on probation since you did not successfully complete your probation. The board already gave you a chance at probation. Why should they give you another chance?
Because I think everybody need a second chance, to be honest with you. If you put your sincere effort to learn from your mistakes, if you understand that what you did wrong, or how can you change, I want to come back. I want to contribute back to my profession, my community, and I want to show to the doctors that if you ever do mistakes, then you have a time to improve, you have a time to change, you have a time to admit, you have a time to go further. It's not end of the road. And everybody learn from mistakes. And I'm not saying I'm perfect, and I'm not saying that. And I'm not saying either that I did it on purpose. It was in subconscious mind. It maybe I did not go with the change that was happening in profession. But these 4 years gave me so much to learn, to self-evaluation, and go back and show that I'm not the same person, what happened. And you're seeing a totally different person coming and being a light to you to understand importance of little things, what we do at our profession.
Thank you. So you mentioned, do you currently own 2 hospitals?
Yes,
What are the names of those hospitals?
All Creature Veterinary Center and AV Veterinary Center.
Are both of those licensed by the board?
Yes.
Has either license been disciplined?
I don't understand being disciplined, like any citations in the past?
Have either of those, their premises registrations with the managing licensee, correct?
Yeah.
Have either of those had any citations or disciplinary action taken against either one of those licenses?
There were some citations, the simple ones like posting X-ray, things that we have been corrected as when the board did inspection, yes. And that's where we developed these new protocols that monthly checkup is important.
And you mentioned that your duties include the financials and advertising, is that correct?
Yes.
Is Dr. Marco, is he the managing licensee of both?
Yes.
Do you plan to open more hospitals if you get your license back?
No.
Do you plan to become the managing licensee of the 2 that you own?
Dr. Marco will stay with his licensee.
Since your license was revoked in 2021, have you been arrested?
No.
No further questions.
Thank you, counsel. Let me now turn to the board in case there are any questions. I'm going to start to my right. Dr. Grant, any questions?
Good morning.
Good-
Thanks for coming. Enjoyed your testimony and whatnot. In practice, what would you fancy yourself as being? A surgeon, soft tissue surgeon, orthopedic, medicine person, reproductive? What are your subspecialties?
I did my residency in soft tissue and orthopedic surgeries in 2005 to 2009, prior to opening my hospital. So I consider myself more, my whole experience is emergency critical care. And so I would consider myself as a overall practitioner for emergency surgeries.
And for working up your patients when they come in situations like this, what diagnostic tests do you feel comfortable uh, applying and interpreting?
Um, we have full IDEX lab, and there was one particular case in the board too. There was like sometime you don't have access to CBC slides, and now we have those telemedicine slides where we can get instant CBC results, FNA, fine needle aspirate results. So I can read those. We have a telemedicine attached to our whole pathology radiology as a second opinion from specialist. We do have CT scan, which I'm very proficient reading, but still every CT scan get uh, telemedicine with a specialty report. I did my ultrasound course, even though I scan it, I understand, but still we send it out to the ultrasound specialist to read and write the reports. So there is always a second check on each diagnostics test.
And just to be clear, that was CT, computed tomography scan?
Yes,
You have a CT unit?
yes.
And how large is the gantry?
Pardon?
How large is the gantry? in
You
your
can
CT?
have up to 200 plus pound dog. Vimigo, it's a Vimigo brand.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Espinoza?
Good morning, Dr. Sandu.
Good morning.
One of the criteria for us to consider, for the board to consider with respect to rehabilitation or whether you've been rehabilitated is the nature and the gravity of your misconduct. Would you agree that the 41 causes of discipline, the subject matter in your case, are extremely egregious and extremely serious?
Yes.
Now, over the course of these proceedings, both today and your prior testimony, was there times where you were dishonest with the board?
I was not dishonest with any intentions, but sometime if my assumptions were represented as dishonesty, it was not my intention at any level of saying that.
Now, you bear the burden coming before the board to demonstrate that you have now been rehabilitated and you're a changed individual, and you made references to that. Looking back now at the care that you provided, that were the subject matter of these proceedings, can you explain to us what led to that level of care? Was it stress? Was it volume of work that you had? What explains that in your mind?
Volume of work, because we were the only um, emergency hospital, 24-hour hospital in the whole Antelope Valley. There was nobody, even during daytime, we were getting all emergencies referrals on regular basis. So we were overwhelmed. And the problem was to find a associate is another big problem in that area who can help to work up cases. So it was one doctor working 40 to 60 emergencies in 24-hour. It led to that situation. Now we have two more places where they do take urgent care, and we do refer cases to them, the doctors who are working for me, and we are very comfortable sharing cases among each other. So there won't be any situation like that in future where there is only one person is working up all the cases. And during that thing, yes, deficiencies happened, and it can happen. It's never been done anything with any intention, knowing that, yeah, I'm doing it on purpose, or nothing was stated knowing that I'm trying to hide. But as I said, I took a whiteboard as a my misunderstanding as a medical record, and I relayed a lot on it. And that was not the right decision. I made it without consulting or discussing, I would say.
To what degree did stress play a role in the quality of care that you provided?
An emergency working 24 hours, an emergency shift is a stressful situation. Because it's not just you working up cases, it's also the pet parents when bringing their pets are under a lot of stress. Um, Staff work under stress, and that's why there are not too many 24-hour hospitals opening up, or a lot of them are closing. Urgent cares are getting closed because um, there's a life balance stress level on veterinarians, on technicians, also pet parents. So it's a hard situation where we need more of these facilities that can help and take the stress away from one facility working in the area. And luckily, we have two more now, which we share cases and try to share burden. So it won't be that situation which I have been through 4 years ago.
Yeah, you presented in your exhibits completion of some continuing education in various areas. Did you complete anything with respect to handling a high volume practice and how to manage those stressors that are created on the medical professional?
I did some more online courses which are not here on stress management, but I have been interactive talking to vet community. I'm not those vet where you um, are not in touch with or discussing new protocols, discussing new things coming up. I'm very interactive, um, and I have been interactive in those 4 years to understand and learn what's going on and sharing with other doctors. And even in the local community, we did talk to a couple of doctors to start seeing those urgent care patients and which they have been helping with each other. So there are different ways to do that, and I've been trying to. I love to listen to anybody who can help, or I share my experience with anybody who can help to understand these stressful situations, working situation where we can help each other. And that's where I got into innovative side in these 4 years by reading new articles, new books, um, try to create something where we can help each other to improve.
And did I understand your earlier testimony that your future plans, if you were to receive your license back, would be to expand your practice and to have an additional hospital?
I sold 3 hospitals during this phase. So I had 5 hospitals when this case happened. So I don't want that. I'm not in an age to have stress of multiple hospitals. So that's why I led 3 hospitals, sold those 3 hospitals. Now I have 2 where I can focus, I can work, I can provide quality of care and standard of operations. And I have Dr. Marco committed for long term with me on that too. So he's here.
To demonstrate rehabilitation also requires that someone have insight as to, what their previous misconduct or wrongdoing was. What do you believe to be the most serious misconduct that you were accused of and found to be in violation of?
My biggest 2, if I come up with 2 right now, which are the biggest, and I paid a lot of time and understanding those mistakes. One is pain management, and the other one is medical records. As I said before, giving me verbal directions to my RVTs and my veterinary assistants to document those in a 2 form of software was my wrong misunderstanding. And I learned that I cannot have excuse for that. It should be my medical record, and it should be implemented on timely basis, not you do it and then few hours later or maybe next day you go back and write it down. Those changes, that won't happen anymore. Plus, we also now limiting the number of patients we can see so that everybody's being addressed, the one already being admitted in the hospital or under our care, not to have keep on getting walk-ins, multiple appointments, and start sharing with the community. Vet community means with other vets.
You also indicated pain management was the second one. Is that right?
Yes.
How do you explain your medical practice with respect to pain management previously? I mean, you've now indicated you take some courses, you've better educated yourself. Looking back to how you were practicing at that time when these allegations and these findings arose, uh, what explains why you would administer 1/10 the recommended dosage?
Um, at that time, most of those cases were like seizures. We did it on surgeries, and those cases were started on pain medication at least 12 to 24 hours prior to the surgery. So I thought, when I have the CRI been going on 12 hours before procedure, and during anesthesia, we continued those ones, and post-surgical, they were not showing aggressive pain uh, symptoms or vocalizing, except when they're recovering from anesthesia, they do those things. And they were in the cages, and I thought that's enough. As my observation, being on the premises and watching as a doctor, and not followed the published protocols, I would say. That was my misunderstanding, and I learned it.
Thank you. All right.
Ms. Walowski?
Thank you. Thank you for being here. We've talked a lot about your pain management protocol and dosages, but I would like to ask you what have you done as far as continuing education or any type of education on how to recognize pain in pets? It's one thing to calculate the correct dosages, but what have you done to educate yourself on how to recognize pain? Because I think that's been a deficiency.
It's based on there are different. There's a Glasgow in Europe. They use different pain scoring system. There is a one Colorado State, and there's a one which is very commonly used by most of the practitioners. Is how you describe no pain, mild pain, moderate pain, severe pain, and also score of 1 to 5. And it based on how you observe them. It's by observation, it's by touch, it's by their vitals, especially their respiration rate, their heart rate, checking their mucous membranes, and even looking into their eyes and how they sorry. Um, there are a lot of parameters that can be implemented, not just basis on vocalizing or having a one or two in your implementation. That's where I am making a pain management page in my software with all these symptoms in there, so that you look at those and you check it and you score your pet on basis of all these points.
Okay,
Very comprehensive
thank you.
approach.
Um, As far as continuing education, it appears to be very clumped together in 2023 when you needed to get your education done in order for your reinstatement. And so what continuing education have you done in 2024 or 2025? And
Yes, I have
even
done,
before then, like
yeah.
how, what's your plan?
I have done Western State in 24. I have a certificate I have done in 25 this year too. I was at the Western State. During that period, I'm member of ICVMA, sorry, IVAC, International Veterinary Critical Care Society. I do a lot of read their blogs. They have podcasts in there. They have webinars I've been attending. VetMed team, I work, go to their webinars on VetMed team. Uh, so it's way more than what is presented over here. If that needed, I can provide it.
Okay. And you stated that you attended, when you go to Western, that you attend every single hour that's offered.
Not
So
every single hour,
the-
but as maximum hours I can do.
Okay.
Yeah, like this year, I think I did over 20, close to 17 to 18 hours of there, but I did a lot of, in these days, if you go to exhibition, there are a lot of drug companies, they do their own presentations there too with the new innovative, new medication. So I have attended those in standing, listening to them too, what's cutting edge in veterinary medicine.
Okay.
Just to add to that, um, the EKG system, which is coming very handy for us to check even before spay and neuter those patients and find out underlying cardiac problems. That is a tool has been getting used by veterinarians, and I did a lot of discussion with NTEC and IDEX on that protocol, and they're sending. So we'll be using that to find pre-existing issues with the pets when people adopt them or they make them family members to help them.
Okay. Um, a question was raised about Western Veterinary Conference and when you attended. And did your badge say staff or veterinarian?
I don't recall.
Your certificate says veterinarian.
Yes, because we gave them my license number,
Right. So you registered as a veterinarian?
so I can do the conferences. Yes.
Okay. So on our page 237, the letter from Jane Harris says that you won't tolerate dishonesty. It's in her last paragraph.
Mhm.
And in your own testimony, you claimed that you couldn't communicate with Honey's client because she was a Spanish speaker.
Mhm.
And then you just admitted again that you blamed the other doctor in Pooh's case because, and then just admitted that you had examined that. So how do you justify this?
Okay.
These
In
statements?
Pooh's case, I said I was not a working doctor on premises, but I was there and I did assist my doctors there to do PRP on the orthopedic patient. Yes, I did it. Maybe it was misunderstood that I was not on the shift, but I was there. Yes, I did that procedure, but I was not working whole day. That's one thing. As for Honey's concerned, the actual owner, yes, she spoke English, and I did talk to her when she came 2-3 hours later. But the person who presented was not bilingual, so there was two people to begin with, and the mother was there who brought the pet, and I had a Spanish speaker interacting between her and me. But the actual owner, when she came after her work, yes, we did communicate with her and she was fluent English speaker. So it was confused between two people.
Okay. I don't have any more questions. Thank you.
Dr. Maniak?
Dr. Sandhu, thank you for coming today. I've got a few questions here. In the case of the underdosing pain management medication, how did the practice invoice for the pain management in those cases? Was it per the amount used, or is it the same charge regardless of the amount used?
Amount used, not same.
Not same.
Yeah, so it depends upon
Okay.
body weight.
So it's per milliliter of each
Yes,
medication
that's each
used?
medication.
What do you feel were the consequences of your deficiencies and actions in the past?
Yes.
What do you feel were the consequences?
The consequences about giving a low pain,
Of all the cases that we've brought up in the past, that this
I
board has
lost my
brought up,
license.
what are the consequences of those deficiencies?
So because of that, I lost my license.
Okay.
And I accepted it. But in these 4 years, I learned my lesson and I improved. I went through a lot of study, self-evaluation, and understanding the importance of rules and regulations.
So you would say that the only consequence was you losing your license?
No, it's practice of medicine. It's your reputation. It's affecting the pets, the one you gave treatment to. So it's also affect your staff.
Okay.
So it's a whole operation that get affected with those consequences.
What are the major functional priorities of a managing veterinarian of a veterinary practice?
The major function is the standard of operation should be implemented. It should be done right. There shouldn't be any shortcuts, and there should be regulation. It should be checked on a regular basis, so there are no deficiencies at any point of operation.
Is it possible to be a managing veterinarian of multiple veterinary practices, of multiple busy veterinary practices at the same time?
Yes or no? It depends. The person who is managing is efficient enough to do their job. But if it's affecting if it's a veterinarian's own performance is affecting out here their own location, then it should be done. It should be a different for each location. Who's been the main doctor at that location?
Do you feel that you did your job proficiently as a managing veterinarian at the practices listed previously?
As per my understanding, I think that yes, I was in touch with doctors, with managers on a regular basis, but I was not visiting on a regular basis to check by myself, then more than 3-4 times a month on other practices. So if that situation happens again, I would not consider myself that one doctor can handle multiple locations. No.
How many veterinarians worked at the practices that you were previously managing?
At 2 main practices, all creature and AV, we had, including relief doctors, 7 to 9 doctors on monthly basis.
Have you mentored any veterinarians in the past?
I did.
Do you feel that you did your job well as a mentor in the past?
As per my understanding that time, yes.
Why did you not perform the functions requested by the board when your license was placed on probation?
I have no excuse for that. I admit it. I did not take it that seriously, especially um, continue education. I thought I will do it enough hours when I have, I'll go to one course, which I did, but that was not the way it was mentioned to me on yearly basis. So and also the quarterly reports, I even though admit signed those, get it done from Dr. Big Stuff on timely basis, but those were never admitted on time, even though it was done by my manager, but it was my responsibility to make sure it's done on time, and I have no excuse to blame anybody else, even if she did it.
Can you describe the Oncura abdominal ultrasound training on May 31st, 2023?
Yes. We got a ultrasound new system to add to our facility. We had some other ultrasounds, but um, we were not that efficient or proficient doing ultrasound reading those or even scanning it. We tried to send it to my doctors and my technician tried to send it to the specialist, but every time there was some issue not getting it properly done. So I had I think 6 to 8 people do that ultrasound classes so they understand how to scan abdominal ultrasound and do a proper scans to send it to specialists. So we could,
Well, I'm talking about your certificate.
yes,
So you went through this training.
yes,
Okay. Are you proficient in abdominal ultrasound now?
yes. But not, I always still do the second opinion by the specialist because I take it and I send it. If I would do it, I would take the ultrasound, I would send it to the specialist, not to be,
Did you have your license on May 31st, 2023?
no.
How did you perform the ultrasound course training?
We scan the pets,
Who's we?
me and other technicians.
Is that practicing veterinary medicine?
I was not diagnosing, practicing, I was learning. I did not do any diagnostic, did not perform anything. I just wanted to learn ultrasound.
I'm done with my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. And online, we have Dr. Bradbury. Any questions?
Yeah, good morning, Dr. Sandu.
Good morning.
Hi, sorry I'm not there in person. Hopefully you can hear me okay?
Yes, I do.
Okay, great. Where did you do your residency?
With Dr. Alan Schulman, Animal Medical Center of
Is
Southern
that in the
California.
United States?
Yes, in California.
Okay, did you take a board exam?
I did not.
Okay, so are you boarded in surgery?
No.
Okay. How many hemilaminectomies have you performed?
During my residency, I don't have the count, but I would say easily 50 plus. I even went to Dallas Surgical Center to do 1 month training with them on neurosurgeries with Dr. Radash.
Okay. Can you describe a neurologic exam?
Yes. So on basis of neurological presentation, um, how you understand if it's IVDD, there are different steps to analyze those. One is testing, try to isolate which disc is involved. You do skin test, you do superficial pain perception, you do deep pain perception, you do patellar reflex. Also, it depends upon pets' mentation, how it's affecting their urinary system, peristalsis, um, anal tone, tail um, evaluation. So there are multiple steps in that.
Okay.
And we do myelogram CT scans too as a
Okay.
diagnostic tool.
How often would you perform a neurologic exam on a pet that has some neurologic abnormalities that you are monitoring?
Um, if the pet is pre-surgical um, case, that we do evaluate them, and on basis of that, we conclude that if this pet could be a surgical candidate, and that's where we proceed with myelogram CT scan, or if some certain cases are further, we send for MRI. After post-surgical, we evaluate those pets, how the reflexes are coming back on basis of the first evaluation, if and that helps with the improvement of surgical procedure.
Okay, can you describe for me what a what abnormalities in a neurologic exam you would find in a patient with an L4, L5 disc herniation that's compressing the spinal cord significantly?
L4, L5, mostly those effects on the hind leg reflexes. Um, it can be paralysis to paralysis on the hind limbs, um, the patellar reflex, and also these patients can have issues with the urinary retention and anal tone and tail response to the pain.
And what abnormality with the patellar reflex would you find?
On patellar, there's when you try to do a patellar reflex, it's not a voluntary response, and you don't get a response to those ones. It's
Okay, what about for a T3, L3?
on T3, L3, mostly you do see the hind leg um, presses, and also it skin. You do like skin check on skin and see and try to locate how after T3. Which one you said? T3, T2, T12, T3.
It would be a T3, L3 myelopathy.
Yeah. So T3, L3 is more again with the hind legs. T3 and L3, and also T2 is more involved with the Schiff-Sherrington reflex, but this one is more with the hind leg paralysis in these pets, and it can also depend on the severity of a spinal cord compression. It can affect the urinary peristalsis is another one, the biggest issue that can happen with one, um, and also fecal incontinence, no control.
Okay. And then can you describe it, physical exam?
You were cutting, I couldn't hear
Dr.
it.
Bradbury, can you repeat that? We lost you a little bit there.
I'm sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Can you describe your classic physical exam findings on a patient with significant pleural effusion?
Patient with the pleural effusion would be um, first with a stethoscope. You can hear some crackles. You can hear wheezing. Sometime if it's too much in a pleural effusion, you can see muffled heart sounds that you may not be able to hear the clear heart sounds. Lung sounds are different. Also, it affects, if it's too much, it affects their mucous membranes, could be cyanotic, they could be dyspneic. The respiration rate changed on those patients.
Okay. And what are the classic radiological findings on thoracic radiographs?
On those ones, you will see fluid in the pleural space, which is more like a white hazy covering the lung space or even the heart space.
And why do you think you missed that in the cases that presented with pleural effusion?
That was very small amount sitting on the bottom on the sternum. And I looked at more like alveolar pattern on that PET when it was presented. And there was more hard changes in the lungs than I was able to see the actual pleural effusion to begin with. But when it was done, repeated again, there was a pleural effusion and I missed it. And
Okay.
that's why now every radiograph goes to the radiologist as a final, or you can say second opinion, before we, no, not a single radiograph is only checked by the practicing veterinarian anymore.
Okay. And do you have 24-hour services for that?
NTech does it through the dark horse.
24 hours?
Yeah, they do 24 hours, but sometime if they're over busy, they don't give you the report right away. But within 2 to 3 hours, we do get a report at nighttime too.
Okay. What's the treatment for aspiration pneumonia?
Aspiration pneumonia, in basis of radiograph finding and blood work, if there's infection, you start with antibiotics, and if it's a lot of time, these cases do have some dehydration because they are not able to drink. You start with some fluid treatment on those patients. Sometimes you use bronchodilators if you feel like the pet is having a difficulty in breathing, like amnoflin or theophylline on those patients. Other thing you can also do is use nebulizer, albuterol, to help, or oxygen therapy on those pets if there's especially with the pulse ox, if oxygen is compromised.
Okay. So you used furosemide multiple times in these patients and dexamethasone. Why did you do that?
At that time, some patients, when I thought like there is a bronchial, there's a inflammation as a pneumonia that I read, and I thought, maybe I should use anti-inflammatory. And other thing is, I thought maybe the loop diuretic might help with those patients, not understanding that it might cause dehydration.
Okay. Lastly, you've talked a lot about how losing your license has affected you and how much it's been a challenge for you and you weren't going to let it be a victim. And how do you think the people whose animals were affected felt? And do you have any thoughts about what these animals maybe went through with the lack of pain control and the like?
Yeah, that was part of my self-evaluation too, that to understand where I was wrong and not to do more research on it, not to do more resources, and especially communicating with other doctors and learn from them.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Before I turn it over to council, it might be a good time for a short break to give everybody just a chance to get up and stretch. Let's go off the record for about 5 minutes. Thank you. Dr. Bradbury, you're with us?
I am, and I don't know why. Let me turn it off and on. Sorry. It's like my background is there, but I'm not on it for some reason.
That's what we're seeing as well.
Yeah, I don't know if I should log on and off. Should I try that? I've stopped it and let's try the,
I've
Or
had
you-
this before. It's your background. I've had it. There you are.
I tried a different camera. That was weird. Okay.
Thank
Sorry.
you. Oh, no worries. Okay, so we'll go back on the record. We're back from our break. We just finished board questions. I'm going to turn it back over to council just in case there are any follow-up questions. Ms. Lutz, any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Alamo-Latif, any recross?
No.
All right, thank you. And just one last time, board members, any follow-up questions? All right, no questions. May this witness be excused.
Yes, Your Honor.
Right, thank you, Dr. Sandu. Of course, this is your case, so you're free to stay, but you're off the proverbial witness stand. Any other witnesses, Ms. Lutz?
Yes, I'd like to call Dr. Frank Marco, please.
All right, Dr. Marco, please take a seat. All right, Dr. Marco, you've been called as a witness. Let me swear you in before you begin your testimony. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you will give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Is your microphone on?
The green light.
There we go. Yes,
Thank you. You may put your hand down. Please state and spell your full name.
Frank Marco, Frank Marco.
Thank you, Dr. Marco. Ms. Lutz, your witness.
Okay, Dr. Marco, what degrees do you hold?
I have a BS in psychology, a master's degree in business, and a veterinary medical degree from University of Pennsylvania.
What is your current occupation?
I'm a practicing veterinarian
How long have you been practicing veterinary medicine?
since 1992, so 32, 33 years.
And where are you currently working as a veterinarian?
I work at the All Creatures Veterinary Center and the AV Veterinary Center.
And are those facilities owned by Dr. Sandu?
Yes,
Are you the managing licensee for either of those locations?
I'm the managing licensee for both locations.
And when did you become the managing licensee for AV Veterinary Center?
I believe it's on around September or October of 2024.
And who was the managing licensee prior to your becoming the managing licensee?
I believe it was Dr. Harris.
What is your schedule at AV Veterinary Center as far as working there?
The schedule varies by the month, but I would say between 2 and 4 shifts per month.
And how long is each shift?
Each shift is from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m.
How often do you see Dr. Sandu at this location?
I would say once a month on average.
And what does he do when he's there?
There's an office adjacent to the hospital, and at times I'll go and over, say hello, we'll have lunch, etc. Once in a while, I see him walk through the practice, but that's about it.
Have you seen Dr. Sandu performing any tasks that require a veterinary license?
No,
So do you also hold the, are you the managing licensee for Sandu Animal Hospital? Strike that. So it's All Creatures and Antelope Valley?
AV Veterinary Center.
Okay. So as far as All Creatures, is that what?
All Creatures Veterinary Center.
Okay. How long have you been the managing licensee there?
The same amount of time, somewhere in around October, November 2024.
And who was the managing licensee there prior to your being the managing licensee?
I believe it was Dr. Harris.
What is your schedule at that location?
I work there on average 3 to 4 days a week.
How long is the shift each day?
That shift is also a 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. shift.
How often do you see Dr. Sandu at that location?
I would say on average once or twice a month.
What does he do when he's there?
Pretty much walks through the back door, goes through the front door. Sometimes he'll deliver supplies, say hi to the staff. Says hi to me. We shake hands once in a while, but otherwise he'll get coffee once in a while for the staff. But that's about it.
Have you observed him performing any tasks that require a veterinary license at this location?
No.
Can I have you please look at page A231? It's in section 7. Do you recognize that document?
Yes.
Did you write it?
Yes.
Dr. Sandhu tell you what to write in this letter?
No.
Is that your signature at the bottom of the page?
Yes.
And do you understand what it meant to sign this document under penalty of perjury?
Yes.
What did it mean?
Basically, that my statement is taken to be truthful and without exception.
Okay, so looking at some of the details in this letter, you state that you've known Dr. Sandhu for over 15 years. When did you first meet?
Yes, I don't recall specifically how we met, but we started working together or knowing each other when I was working at another practice, and we were in need of surgical care for some of our patients, and we came to an agreement to perform the surgeries I felt he was comfortable doing.
You state here that you're impressed by Dr. Sandhu's unwavering commitment to the field of veterinary medicine. What exactly do you mean by that statement?
Um, Basically, since I've reacquainted myself with Dr. Sandhu from July of last year, there hasn't been a moment that I thought he, well, I would say in every interaction, I felt that he was extremely serious about the issues that he's been through, and I felt quite strongly that he was very motivated to correct his mistakes, to take ownership of those mistakes, and to I felt very confident, feeling that if reinstated, that he took these things very seriously and had every intention of not committing those violations again.
Okay, and then also in this letter, you refer to something called a charging document. By that, do you mean the decision and order that was posted on the VMB's website?
Yes,
Have you read that document?
yes,
So you're aware of the the situations that led to Dr. Sandhu's revocation, correct?
yes,
You also reference in this letter a dedication to profession. His dedication to the profession extends beyond the standard requirements. What do you mean by that?
I would say, based on my experience, um, being a veterinarian for so many years and seeing what I've seen, I witnessed him go over and above what I would consider to be, on average, what veterinarians do to maintain their knowledge and experience in the standard of care and in practice. And time and time again, I felt that he demonstrated, to me at least, through his continuing education and case studies and discussions about such matters, that on average, I felt him way above what I've experienced talking to other veterinarians throughout my career.
Okay, and you were present for Dr. Sandhu's testimony. So what I'd like you to do, if you could, is just comment on some of the improvements that he has discussed that have been made at his facilities. So I'm going to ask you your description of what Dr. Sandhu was describing as the standards of proceeding. You have a standard operating procedures at the facility. Can you describe that more fully?
Yes, in regards to what's supposed to happen at the practice from an operational point of view, from a standard of care, patient care, communication with clients, appropriate charging, um, uh, also information presented to clients regarding after-hours care, and full explanations of what the assessment of patients are, and the treatment planning. I think what I've seen, the instruments and um, the software and the references we have available to us, I think they all lend itself quite well to what he's addressed as being at least meeting, if not exceeding in many cases, what I would consider to be the standard of care.
As the managing licensee, what are your responsibilities at the facilities?
I'm responsible for making sure that the California Veterinary Practice Act requirements are met at each facility that I'm the managing director of.
Now, how do you go about doing that at these two facilities?
Well, I've established a protocol where I've downloaded the checklist from the Veterinary Medical Board and do what I consider to be mock inspections at each facility on a regular basis. I document deficiencies that I find, and I share those with the manager at each location and follow up with them regarding fixing or repairing the deficiencies that I find, and document those as well. And I give that report to each manager at the facilities. And then I expect to do that on a regular basis, either quarterly or every 6 months.
Okay, can you also just give us a little more information about the use of the Cubex for controlled substance?
Yes, the Cubex machine is a replacement to what we used to do by hand, which kept logs of controlled drugs used in procedures in the hospital. And it's quite a nice system because it's locked down and it documents each and every time an approved person withdraws medications and with a patient for patient care. It's coordinated with the financial recording and the invoicing system. And there's countless reports online about medications that have been entered and received and also used by who, when it was done, what patient. It's quite extensive, quite a bit more extensive than the old record keeping, uh, uh, especially because it's computerized. Before we used to do the records by hand, and depending on the penmanship of the people doing the record keeping, sometimes it was less than ideal. And when I was doing it, following controlled drugs at other facilities, I did find obvious errors in simple subtraction and addition. So the Cubex solves nearly all those problems and is a source for maintaining records, but also auditing records of controlled drug use.
Thank you. Okay, so Dr. Sandhu also referred to something that he called anesthesia protocols that were followed. Can you expand on that a little bit, please?
Yes, over the years, through several references, DVM 360, Plums, Vet Girl on the Run, VIN, anesthesia. There's an anesthesia website strictly for veterinary anesthesia. Drugs come and go and protocols come and go, and we continually maintain a spreadsheet with published doses that are referenced for each patient based on their weight and their condition for anesthesia. So we have that listed on a spreadsheet, like I said, which includes patient weight, which automatically calculates those doses that are updated and checked and protected, so no one can change those. And then those protocols are kept until something new comes along that we feel comfortable using. To expand a bit on the use of these drugs, I was always taught that the best anesthetic protocols or drugs that we use are ones that we feel most comfortable knowing the pet's reaction to, recovery time, not just taking medications because it was released and we got a new CE meeting from a company trying to sell a new product or protocol. We go on based on what we're comfortable using and understanding. And then, like I said, when new methods come around, we make sure it's well used in the field before we adopt those things, and those are then put into our anesthetic protocols and maintain things quite comfortably that way.
Okay, and as far as medical records, can you describe the system that you use for medical records at these two facilities?
Yes, we use Cornerstone, which is an IDEX flagship medical record keeping system. And although it's quite complex, the people that use it and work with it are quite adept at those at that system. I think it's well received or well used throughout the profession, at least in this country that I'm aware. And again, I've been around a bit of time, and I'm used to medical records or had used medical records that are written, and to have electronic medical records that you can read, that are typed and easily referenced. It's been quite a nice system to use.
And if Dr. Sandhu gets his license reinstated, are you willing to stay on as the licensee manager of these two facilities?
Yes.
And do you believe that if Dr. Sandhu, his license is reinstated, that he'll continue with these new policies and procedures that have been developed under your guidance that you just described?
I have two comments about that. The one is, yes, I firmly believe that he's sincere, that he's remorseful, who he understands and that takes responsibility for his deficiencies. And I also believe he's earnest and truthful when he says he plans to abide by the California Practice Act and correct the issues that he's had. And I also am comforted by knowing that he will be expected to demonstrate his ability to abide by the Practice Act through regular either record review or inspections or whatever it takes. And he's told me numerous times that he's more than willing and able to open his records up, his practices, whatever it takes to make the board comfortable that he continues to abide by the requirements of the Practice Act.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Ms. Alamo-Latif, cross-examination.
Yes, thank you. Dr. Marco, are you Dr. Sandhu's employee?
Yes,
Does he pay your salary?
yes.
Explain how it works with you being the managing licensee and him being the owner. Who makes decisions on running the practice, such as standard operating procedures or using the Cubex machine?
He's given me that responsibility as a managing director.
Okay, so you make all of those decisions and put all of that into place in the practice?
I'm responsible, but I do consult with the managers at the practices who I think have enough experience to help me in those decisions, but yes.
Okay. Are you the managing licensee of any other premises licensed by the board?
The AB Veterinary Center,
Is that in addition to the two that you already mentioned?
I'm sorry, I'm a managing licensee for just the All Creatures Veterinary Center and the AB Veterinary Center.
Okay. What did you do prior to becoming the managing licensee in the fall of 2024?
I started working with at the AB Veterinary Center and All Creatures in July of 24. And then subsequent to that time, after some discussion with the managers and Dr. Sandhu, they asked me to become the managing director or licensee. And yeah, I was just a practicing veterinarian at that point.
Okay. When you were a practicing veterinarian, did you ever work directly with Dr. Sandhu?
No,
Did you ever review any of his medical documentation?
only in pertaining to the history of some patients I've seen.
And are you talking about the patients that were in the disciplinary action issued by the medical board, or what patients are you referring to?
I was asked to review the proceedings relating to his complaints and violations of the medical board, and I am familiar with those proceedings, but I'm referring to specifically patients that I might have seen to come in, with an appointment. If there was history prior to me seeing them, I would review those records.
Okay. I understand. So at your time working at AV and All Creatures, there may have been animals that had been seen years prior by Dr. Sandu, and so you would have reviewed those notes.
Yes.
Okay. Would you say that what you wrote in your letter is true about Dr. Sandu prior to the revocation of his licenses or after or both?
My letter specifically addressed, we've known each other quite a while, as mentioned in the letter, but there were periods of time that he and I didn't have communications for one reason or another. And probably a number of years before I started working for him again in July of 24. So these statements aren't necessarily relevant or addressing the time before July 2024.
Okay. So when you say that his dedication to his profession extends far beyond the standard requirements, what basis do you have to make that statement if you have never actually seen him practice?
My my witnessing him practice had to do with surgeries he had performed for us at another practice years ago. The standards that I referred to is based on a culmination of my years' experience in working in several hospitals and seeing many doctors and practicing with many doctors, and use those as a perspective to and a gauge to evaluate his level of commitment, Dr. Sandu's level of commitment, and based on that, based on my perspective, I made that statement.
Okay. And you stated you read the decision that revoked his license, correct?
Yes,
So you understand that the decision found numerous acts of negligence, incompetence, unprofessional conduct, inadequate record keeping, and specifically found that his practice fell below the standard requirements. Do you understand that?
yes.
So despite these numerous findings, you believe that his practice extends far beyond the standard requirements?
When you say his practice, my statement is more of a from a character point of view. When you say his practice extends, I'm not addressing his practice. If you mean practice of medicine, it's the statement is not as a witness to his practice of medicine. It's strictly a witness to his character and his dedication to coming back. Did I understand your question?
Okay, so when you say his dedication extends far beyond the standard requirements, you're talking about what he has done since he has his license revoked.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. And how do you know about his continuing education or anything that he has done? Is that something that he has discussed with you, or have you personally witnessed it?
I have simply been informed of such events and meetings.
You've been informed by him?
Yes.
If Dr. Sandu gets his license back, assuming he starts to work at the two practices, what is your plan to help Dr. Sandu to ensure that he is complying with all the board's rules and regulations?
I've thought a lot about this, and I thought about the questions I would have sitting in your position at the board or whatnot, and realized that I expect that not only do I believe he has every intention of complying with the Veterinary Medical Board and the Practice Act, but I also expect and appreciate that he fully is aware and expects to have records reviewed and any other steps that the board may take to make sure he's complying. And that makes me very comfortable between what the board is requiring and between that and my responsibility as a managing licensee at these practices. Those two things make me very comfortable that he will be understanding what's happened to him, understanding his his role and the things that have happened to him, and is dedicated to not making the same mistakes. Yeah.
Is it going to be, do you believe, uncomfortable for you that he's your employer? And yet, if he gets his license back, you would be the managing licensee over him. How do you believe that that would work?
I did consider that when I first took on the responsibility, looking ahead, wondering if that would be the case. And I'm completely comfortable, and I think he is too, having me potentially be the one who keeps an eye on him, keeps an eye on his practice, his records, everything about what the Practice Act requires and what the board may require as far as his records or whatnot. And I have the confidence that and the understanding that he respects my position if I'm the guy who has to keep an eye on things. And I think he's comfortable with that, and I am as well.
Dr. Sandhu explained a little bit about some new software that he was working on and said that it would be done in 4 to 6 months. When that software is done, as the managing licensee, are you willing and open to implementing that software into the practice?
Well, I'm aware of some of the development that's been taking place with the software that he's mentioning. I also understand that there are many, many steps that have to be taken prior to software of that sort, of any sort, being implemented into the practice of veterinary medicine. And I've taken a wait and see posture because, for example, if anybody walks through the front door of a practice and they present software, not Dr. Sandhu, I'm just talking in generalities here. If they come through the door and say, I have the software that will do this, that, and the other, I'm not the guy to say, yes, that'd be great, let's use it. I understand that it has to meet many, many checks and balances and compliance with the Practice Act and the medical board and maybe the AVMA. So I'm the last guy on the train as far as if all those requirements are met and approved of, then that's something I would adopt. But in the meantime, I've enjoyed hearing about those things, and I appreciate the effort and the time and the money spent on trying to develop these things. But at some point, like I said, I'm the last guy to implement those things because I would have made sure it went through what I believe to be a rigorous process of evaluation by other governing bodies to make sure that it's something that we could use and would be in compliance.
Okay, and I believe that you said that your practice is currently using Cornerstone for medical records?
Yes.
And can you explain how Cornerstone helps to ensure that all the required information is being documented in the records?
I would say that Cornerstone is the tool, but the making sure it's in compliance falls on my shoulders, and that comes from using the checklist for medical record keeping, and evaluating not only my records but the records of the other doctors of the practice, and we routinely do that on a regular basis. I would even say weekly, to make sure whatever's in the medical record is what's supposed to be there, whether it be the pet's name, weight, drugs used, dosage calculations, whatever the case, that they're signed by the doctor performing the procedures or the examinations. And so the answer is the Cornerstone is a tool, but the insurance that things are done properly fall on my shoulders, and in turn with the manager of the practices.
Thank you. No further questions.
Thank you, counsel. Let me now turn to the board. I'll start again to my right. Dr. Grant, any questions?
Thank you for coming. Appreciate your attendance. If I'm correct, you used to refer cases to Dr. Sandhu for surgery?
Correct.
And when was the last time that you did that?
I want to say on or around 2006, 2008.
Okay, so almost 20 years now.
Correct.
Yeah. And do Do you think you still feel comfortable referring cases to Dr. Sandhu if he got his license back? Or, or him handling cases, complex cases?
I would say it depends on the case. We have a lot of options, especially in Southern California. We have specialists of every kind that have relationships with, and it depends on the nature of the case. There are certain cases that I've always picked and choose the specialists I thought can best handle the situation. So if a case came up, if he was reinstated and he was a current licensed practicing veterinarian, and I thought that he or where he was working can handle the case, I would refer to him. And, this is based on not only my belief in his abilities and his staff, but also relying on the ongoing, which I expect to be ongoing review of his practice and evaluating his records and all that. So as a team, I'm relying on myself, my knowledge of his skill set, of his staff ability to handle a case, depending on what it is, and also that the board's stamp of approval that he's practicing within the guidelines of what he's expected to do.
And what would be the top 2 or 3 cases that you would refer to Dr. Sandhu, type of cases?
I think they would be cases that we couldn't handle on a 24-hour basis. For example, like a parvo case or Addisonian case, like Addisonian crisis, or a DKA, something like that, that needed 24-hour monitoring because of confidence in him and confidence in his staff, since I know them as well, of course. Yeah, I think I'd.
Any surgical type cases that he would excel at, or?
He does have a very competent doctor working now at the AV Veterinary Center, who I believe is to be a very competent at surgery. He's not boarded, but he's very competent, at least from the experience that I've been involved with him. So I would refer to him to handle a surgical case if I thought it was necessary, based on the cases that I've seen him or know him to be successful at. There are some cases I would certainly not, just based on comfort level. And they could be extensive cases that might involve like a disc case, for example, paralyzed patient, those kinds of things. I work very hard to make sure that if we're referring a case, my ego gets set aside and I pick the best person for the job, first and foremost. So again, it depends on the case, but a complicated surgical case I would not refer to Dr. Sandhu.
Thank you for that. And as managing director of these 2 hospitals, if Dr. Sandhu does return to practice, get his license back, would he be an addition in helping with the workload, or would someone else leave? I mean, how many FTEs, full-time people would you have? Would he increase the number of professionals in the practice, or just replace somebody?
Number of professionals, if you mean doctors, yes, he would be in addition to who we have. And I think the plan would be to extend hours to evening hours based on the needs of the community. It's really scarce right now, competent overnight or evening medical care. So it would add to who we have there already.
And have you made plans, because you're going to have another FTE, full-time person or something like that, to populate the hospital with the support staff that they need?
Yes, of course. My meetings with the managers at both hospitals, especially AV, involve making sure we have enough FTEs, right, to handle the caseload. Part of the proceedings are first step, that's in our minds to plan for that. First things first, as far as making sure he gets his license back, of course, because right now those hours aren't covered at the hospital. But, our thinking is let's hire people, let's make sure he gets his license back. And when we're comfortable opening those hours and have enough staff to cover, then we'll implement those hours.
So you're aware of that some of the problems, in fact, maybe all of them, stem from him having too high a stress load earlier on, and he wasn't properly supported, but
Yes.
You've made plans to take care of that, or try to
Well, I
alleviate
think
that as much as you can?
Yes, I think it's about quality of people working at the practice. I can say without question, the people there they care and they're competent. And that makes me much more comfortable managing the practice because I know that if something's asked of them, they do things properly. And they're not going to allow, for financial reasons or other reasons, the caseload to get out of hand and not being able to do their job effectively and put the patient at risk. They have made changes over the last several months to accommodate a number of cases, but turn away cases, unfortunately for the pets, to not overwhelm the staff and the system and risk patient care.
Thank you. No more questions.
Thank you.
Mr. Espinoza?
Good morning, Dr. Marco. Thank you
Morning.
for being here. Did you author a March 1st, 2025 letter a character reference on behalf of Dr. Santo?
Yes.
And you addressed that letter to whom it may concern. Did you know it was coming to the board for these proceedings?
Yes.
In your letter, you indicate that you've known Dr. Sandu for over 15 years. Is that right?
Yes.
Can you describe for us over that 15-year period that you knew Dr. Sandu, what the extent of your financial relationship with Doctor was over that 15-year time period?
Well, it changed. There was definitely periods of time that we weren't in communication for whatever reason. There was never an adversarial relationship with Dr. Sandu. For one reason or another, his business or his practice didn't intersect with mine at all. We're not in the same town or anything like that. But initially, it was just to come in and perform surgeries that we needed that we couldn't do ourselves because of his skill set at the time. And there was, like I said, several years between the last time he performed surgery for us and I got essentially reacquainted with him to come back and offered my services to work for him. So a span of years, I would say. But the financial relationship was simply he would come in, do the surgery, and we'd pay him for his fees when he worked for us doing surgical procedures back in the early 2000s. And then since then, it's been just a salary-based relationship. I'm an employee under him and get paid a certain amount of dollars per day for the shifts I work.
When did that salary relationship begin?
July of last year.
When you wrote the letter, the March of 2025 to come to this board, you didn't disclose your financial relationship with the doctor, did you?
No, I don't believe so.
Why not? Do you think that's something that would be important to assess the character references with respect to the connection between the person making the reference and the person whose reference was at issue?
When you say the financial relationship, if you mean my salary, I didn't necessarily believe at the time that that was relevant to being a character witness.
Did you disclose that you had an employer-employee relationship in the letter?
No.
Did you think that was important?
I was asked to essentially evaluate him and whether I think the board should reinstate him. So I based on the fact that I wasn't party or a participant in the proceedings before my most recent employment, I believe my comments really were to address what my feelings were as far as his sincerity about getting reinstated. I didn't feel the financial relationship or my employment status was relevant to that question.
When you were asked to evaluate him, was there parameters with respect to the time period that you were offering the character reference for him? Was it just for the period from after his license was revoked, or was it the totality of the 15 years that you knew him?
Yeah, I would say part of the time that I knew him years ago, part of it, but I would say 90% of it was since I've been employed by Dr. Sandu. And because I felt that was most relevant, because between the time I knew him before and the time I started working for him, all this happened. So I thought the best way for me to assess if I felt comfortable writing a character reference would be most recently my interactions with him and our kind of reacquaintance back as a relationship.
And did you lay out those time limitations in your March 1st, 2025 letter with respect to what time period you were evaluating him and offering a character reference for?
No,
But you did today, is that right? Earlier, if I understand your testimony, did you kind of narrow the time period? Or did I misunderstand your testimony?
Um, if you're talking about my decision to support him as a character reference, I think I made reference to my first introduction to him and working with him years ago. Um, But my decision to offer my opinion as a character reference really is from the time period when we kind of became reacquainted and I started working for him. Um, I'm not sure that answers your question. Please follow up if necessary.
I guess I'm trying to understand. I read your letter that you presented March 1st, 2025, and you lay out you've known him for 15 years.
Yeah.
To me, that's a read of, you're offering a character reference over a 15-year time period.
Okay.
As I understood your testimony earlier, when the Deputy Attorney General was asking some questions, I took it that you were limiting your character reference for a much narrower period. Is that accurate?
I would say yes.
However, in preparation for the character reference and to be a witness here today, you made yourself familiar with the allegations that were available online and the accusations of misconduct and the findings and so forth that brings Dr. Sandu before us today. Is that right?
Yes.
Did your understanding of those facts that you learned about reading online, did they change your opinion in any way as to the opinion you held of him before you read those documents?
I would say that I'm well aware and appreciate the seriousness of these offenses, of these violations. Absolutely. I would say that I was also surprised because, like I said, there was a period of time of quite a number of years that we had no communication or contact. So, but after reading those, I felt how serious it was and how serious the board takes it and how serious he should take it. And again, I was surprised at some of those things, having read through them. But knowing him or getting reacquainted with him as of last July, despite that, and yes, it did affect my opinion quite a bit, but I looked at him and talked to him quite a bit about his understanding, maybe about why those things happened, how, if he took those seriously, if he understood that it's a privilege to practice medicine. And I thought long and hard about putting my name behind supporting somebody because of the effort that I put in.
Put you in a difficult position, didn't it?
Yes, excuse me.
And what surprised you when you became aware of that conduct?
I would say, the record keeping is record keeping. It's very difficult. And I've worked in a lot of practices under a lot of veterinarians, and I have my own practice to reference. Very difficult to produce accurate, timely records. And I'm not talking about the the important parts of a medical record, the physical exam and the findings and the diagnosis. I'm talking about the date and other things that may not be as critical to the patient care, to the overall well-being of the pet. But the other things, as far as drug doses and as far as performing surgeries without the examinations, the neurologic examination, for example, those things I felt very strongly about that bothered me the most.
And as I asked Dr. Sandu, one of the issues that this board has to determine with respect to rehabilitation is the gravity of the offense of the misconduct. Would you agree that what you became aware of by reviewing those allegations and findings available to you on the website, that it demonstrated serious misconduct and extremely egregious misconduct?
Yes.
Thank you. I don't have any further questions.
Thank you for being here, Dr. Marco. I understand it's very difficult. We appreciate it. So just to follow up a little bit on Mr. Espinoza's comments or questions. So we understand there was a period of time in which that you were not acquainted. You've known him for 15 years, and you came to work for him a year ago.
Yes.
When you came to work for him, were you aware of the allegations that were made against him?
You know, I interact with a lot of doctors and over the years, and most recently, the discussion of him and his violations is well known in the community where I work in Los Angeles, quite well known. And I was actually warned by more than one person, you shouldn't be associated with him, you shouldn't go to work for him. Why would you want to work for a gentleman or a doctor who's done these things? And I thought to myself, let me evaluate that myself. Let me give it a shot, give it a try. If I find that, there's, as you know, the shortage of veterinarians, there's plenty of work that I could do elsewhere with my experience and skill set. But I thought I made a decision to put all that aside and see for myself, basically. So I'm still there at his practice, and I trust the proceedings that we're going through to reinstate him. And we've talked a lot about how he feels about what's happened and his responsibility. And I'm very, very comfortable that he owns his mistakes and he feels responsible and remorseful. And I sit here and feel pleased that I found out for myself instead of listening to all these other people that said, "Are you crazy? Why are you going back to work for this guy? Do you know?" Of course I knew, but like I said, I wanted to find out for myself, and I'm still here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Maniak?
Thank you for coming today, Dr. Marco. I have a couple of questions. What types of issues have you had to address within the two practices that you have taken over as managing veterinarian?
So as I mentioned, I go through the checklist downloaded from the CVMA and documented violations. There are probably a few, but from the 42 or 43 that are on there, probably no more than 5. And things like signage over the isolation ward, I told them they need to sign over isolation. I found parts of a machine in surgery that I told them to remove because it doesn't belong there. The sign that is to inform clients about going elsewhere for overnight emergencies, I think that was missing at one of the practices. We put that up right away. The certificates, veterinary certificate, premise certificate that are supposed to be displayed behind the reception. I think in one case, one of those was missing. And I think the other thing that I saw was the people that aren't registered, that aren't registered technicians, veterinary technicians, need to be trained and certified. One of those certificates was missing as well. And at one point, we discussed having, this is more OSHA stuff, but having a clear path in and out of the practice on emergency. And the last thing I can remember is not having a map of an escape route. It may not be necessarily, it might be OSHA, maybe, but I noticed it wasn't there, so we produced that and hung those up. The last thing again, this is probably more OSHA, just from experience, but at one time I went through the practice and asked the staff where the fire extinguishers were to show me. And so we made sure that they knew. Excuse me. I think that's about it.
Okay. Are there any veterinarians at the two practices that you run that were there when Dr. Sandhu was the managing veterinarian of them?
I don't believe so. No.
Okay. All right. That's all for my questions.
Thank you.
And online, Dr. Bradbury, any questions?
Good morning, or is it afternoon? No, it's still 4 minutes. Good morning. Good morning, Dr.
Morning.
Marcos. Thank you for coming, and I do. It does. I think that your level of attention to things there is evident, and I appreciate your candid testimony today, and I thank you for that. I had some questions about your initial relationship with Dr. Sandu. How did you come to use him in your practice? How did that evolve?
Yeah, I was thinking about that even before this meeting, and I don't remember if he reached out as part of coming to other practices to offer his surgical services, or someone told me, because it's common that if there's a way to keep some of those cases in the practice safely and comfortably for the patient, that we call in outside surgeons for certain procedures. And I think it may have been that a colleague recommended Dr. Sandu as one of the people I could call to come and do surgery. I don't know which one of those it was.
And was it your understanding that he was a surgeon?
If you're talking about a surgeon as a title of board certification, I was aware that he was not board certified.
Okay. And why did you stop using him?
We have other options, probably 2 or 3 at the time. First of all, our caseload for cruciate repairs, for example, or fractures was pretty low at my practice where I was working. And we did have other people that offered services, Dr. Henry, Dr. Garoya, Dr. Barrett. And oftentimes it was a matter of availability. And I think during that time frame when we stopped using Dr. Sandu, he was quite busy and unavailable a lot of the times, if I remember correctly. And we had people that were more available. As you can imagine, if we had a fracture or a cruciate, it couldn't wait for 2 weeks, for example. So I think that's how that came about.
Okay, thank you. That's it.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you, doctor. And I want to be mindful of everybody's time. It looks like we're just a few seconds away from noon. So let me just check, Ms. Velasquez, Vice President, you're all right proceeding to conclude? All right. Thank you. And is everybody else okay with that? I just want to check. All right. I'm seeing nodding heads. Okay. Let me turn it back to council. Ms. Lutz, any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Alamo Latif, any recross?
No, Your Honor.
All right. May this witness be excused?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Marker, for your time and testimony. You may take a seat.
Thank you.
All right. Any other evidence, Ms. Lutz?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and move on to closing argument. Ms. Lutz, I'll let you go first since you have the burden, and Ms. Alamo Latif, you'll go second if you have any comments to make, and then you'll have last remarks, Ms. Lutz, whenever you're ready.
Okay, well, I think that we've had a lot of evidence this morning that Dr. Sandu is very, very motivated to have his license reinstated and to comply with all the statutes and regulations in the Practice Act. We've also heard a lot of very interesting testimony from Dr. Marco, who clearly understands his job as the managing licensee and who intends to make sure that if Dr. Sandu comes back to practicing as a veterinarian, that he will comply as well with the statutes and regulations in the Practice Act. We've had evidence of the allegations in the underlying case. Dr. Sandu, however, has testified that he's learned from those mistakes that he made, that he now uses a different method of calculating drug dosages, that he no longer uses a whiteboard. He clearly understands the need for good medical records, and Dr. Marco clearly understands that as well. They're prepared for using, they have a computerized system they're using right now for their records. Dr. Sandu testified about a new system he's working on, but nevertheless, they clearly have moved away from handwritten medical records. Dr. Sandu testified that he understands the establishment of a VCPR and basically that he understands what he did wrong and how he's managed to read textbooks and take continuing education courses over these last 4 years so that he's able to go back to practicing as a veterinarian. We went over the CE. I'm not going to belabor those again. He does have additional CE that we just didn't get into the evidence in time. So he has done additional CE in 2024 in addition to what we have. And what I think is especially interesting is that he spent he told me as much as 6 hours a day reading textbooks to, re-educate himself about veterinary medicine so that if he does get his license back, then he's ready to, get into it and be able to practice veterinary medicine. However, we've also heard from Dr. Marco that he takes his job as a managing licensee very seriously, obviously, and that he will make sure that Dr. Sandhu is in compliance. So essentially, I believe that Dr. Sandhu's paid his dues. He's done everything that he can do over the last 4 years to try to make himself a better veterinarian. I think he also testified that he understands how he went wrong when he was on probation in his failures to comply with the terms of probation. And I do think his testimony is clear that he understands that he needs to comply 100% with those terms. And I just basically think that in summary, listening to Dr. Sandhu's testimony, seeing what he's done over the past 4 years, and then listening to Dr. Marco, I believe that Dr. Sandhu is ready, he's willing to go back to being a veterinarian under strict probation terms that he will follow. And he requests respectfully that the board determine that he is entitled to have his license reinstated. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lutz. Ms. Allen-Latif, any comments?
Yes, I don't have a recommendation either way of whether to grant or deny the petition today, but if it is granted, I would suggest obviously putting him back on probation since he never successfully completed his probation with similar terms and conditions that he was required to comply in his previous probation and any additional terms that board sees fit, and also cost recovery as identified in Exhibit 4. Thank you.
Thank you. Any last remarks, Ms. Lutz?
Nothing, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Council, is the matter submitted?
Yes.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. With the matter being submitted, the record is closed. The board will convene in closed session to discuss your case, Dr. Sandhu. That will be just after this, we close this hearing. And you will receive a written copy of the final decision at some point in the future, probably at least a month out, if not a little more. Any updates, you can contact board counsel with the assistance of your attorney. All right, thank you, everyone. With that, we are off the record. And with Vice President Filowski's permission, the board will now move to closed session.